Well, anytime you have a chance to see the Hall of Famer Lee Arthur Smith, it's always a treat for me. First of all, you're looking well.
Thank you, thank you. I got to give a lot of credit to my little lady, man. She's been keeping a good eye on me.
Keeping you away from certain things.
Yeah, but I'm not. She's not keeping me out of trouble though, man.
So what's keeping you busy? Because, we see you from time to time. I know you do some work with the Cubs, and being a Hall of Famer, that's obviously changed your life a lot. What's the biggest change since you went into the Hall?
Hey man, I tell you what, the travel, which I love, meeting people, going out doing things. COVID, put like a halt on all of that with a lot of people, but it's starting to loosen up a little bit. And we had the situation in Louisiana, so I was here, hopefully to get something. I'm gonna probably get some souvenirs for the kids for school and things like that, and try to get something from a little town and city. But I'm just trying to keep myself busy, man.
You watch the game at all? You keep track of it?
It's tough. It's tough, man. I ain't going to lie to you, but there's some guys I like to see. Matter of fact, the team that the Cardinals are playing right now, I like to see the guys always, the young man that they're closer, sort of reminds me of Lee Smith. He sort of reminds me of Lee Smith a little bit, So I keep an eye on him, sometime when he was struggling a little bit and see how he adjusts and things like that. But, I know the kid for the Cardinals now is struggling a little bit. So I try to keep an eye on that aspect of the game, which I think I know a little something about.
What do you see in a situation? This is a young man who never closed before this year. He's got good stuff. He was really good. He was an all-star. And then maybe he hit the wall a little bit. But what do you say? Because one of the things I've always noticed, the good closers have bad memories or short memories about bad things.
Well, that's the thing you got to do, man, because when you go out there and you give it all, and every day you're a human being. You're not going to be perfect. But the one thing is not putting added pressure on yourself when you go back out the next day. And I think now with all of the information that the guys are trying to be perfect. There ain't no perfect ball player, ain't no perfect human being. So you got to go out there and I always look at and put it as a positive thing for myself. The best hitter in the game is a failure 70% of the time. So I got to figure with the stuff that I got, I'm going to be able to get one of those 7 outs, But with him, I think the thing is got to be in the back of his mind, how my arm going to snap back the next day, or are you going to start being a pitcher, not a thrower? Yeah. That is really going to be the key for him.
And I wonder, when you have a guy like that, and maybe you in that situation, did you squeeze it a little tighter? Did you not let it come out of your hand freely? I mean, mechanics are still important in that situation also.
Well, it's easier said than done, but not try and be perfect. Just try to stay out in the middle of the plate, man, because these guys got so much power the other way, more so now than they did back in the day, But I think the one thing is let your defense help you. Sometimes the guys go out there and they think they got to strike out everybody. You got to make that gut pitch. You make sure the ball is not squared up. You make sure the guy hit the top of the ball or the bottom of the ball. The guys now want to have that swing and miss stuff. Some guys are going to have that, but to be able to get the hitters where let them get themselves out, not you thinking about, I got to get these guys out.
That's a great point you're making. I see a lot of guys who only can go 5 innings as a starter, and I see closers who all of a sudden get into a 15, 18-inning situation where the pitches, as far as they're concerned, where they want the strikeout. Let them hit it. Yeah. As you mentioned, don't let it in the middle of the plate, but let them hit it.
Yeah, the defense is going to save you more so than your stuff. Mm-hmm. They're going to make those plays behind you, but the main thing is have that ball, out of the zone. Try to be able to expand the zone, and then, in the situation as a closer, I think, when you can be able to expand that zone, that ball up looks hittable, but you got to get there. And not thinking too far ahead of yourself. Some of those guys thinking about, thinking about Clay Bellinger, where you're facing somebody else. Think about one guy at a time, and then you're going to learn how to pitch. But going out there is going to be the best thing for him.
Too much information for some of these guys to break down.
Oh, my God, yeah, it's unbelievable, man. I tell you what, I was coaching for like 20 years with the Giants, and I think too much information is bad sometimes. But, I would love to had that opportunity to be able to see guys that I hadn't seen before, but you still going to be a different guy. You're not going to throw like I throw. Another guy's not going to be the same as you. You don't know the capabilities that the hitter has against this guy, where you're hiding the ball or you're being able to make good pitches. The main thing is just try to be consistent.
You pitched in a lot of different cities and played for a lot of teams, but your best success was in St. Louis. I mean, you averaged over 40 saves a year the years you were here.
Well, there was a dude named Ozzie Smith sort of helped me out a little bit. He got me out of more trouble than my slider, I guarantee you that, fella. But, like I said, we just back to what we just talked about, the defense, man. But I felt comfortable here. St. Louis was like Lee Smith. Like my personality fit this city so well, man. And really the people that was here, couldn't have had a better manager, who was my favorite, Joe Torre at the time. But I think, the team, we didn't go anywhere at that time, but we had good ball club, good followings, and we had good teammates.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing. I remember some of those teams, and I look back. You guys had some characters on those teams too. I mean, some funny guys, but they could play though. That's the other thing.
Yeah, you get so many. I think one of the guys that was one of the best players, I thought, was Ray Langford. He came in. They said, he's like going to replace Willie McGee. You don't replace Willie McGee. You put somebody out there where Willie used to play, but Ray felt that role good. And I want to tell you who I really liked as a player that I thought that had more potential was Bernard Gilkey. We had Brian Jordan, those guys like that, but we had a good bench. We had this old crazy boy named Rex Hudler was everywhere, man. And that was one of the key guys. If those guys wanted a day off, we didn't say, "Oh Lord, who we got somebody in left field." We had somebody that could fill their shoes and go out there and do that job. But I think the pitching we had, I had good setup, man. I had like Carpenter, and Daly. And Scott Terry, guys like that. So, and had a dude who was probably had better stuff than me with my setup, man, by the name of Todd Worrell. Yeah, but he was injured, so he was working his way back. So they didn't. That's when I was closing here, and then he went on to L.A. and did his thing. But he was good here when he was closing. But the main thing was that team that we had, bringing up all those guys.
I thought about you. I was at the Negro League Museum a couple of weeks ago, and, they've got the great statue of Buck O'Neil. What an impact he had on you and certainly the game. You, Lou Brock, and who else? You hit and Joe. Yeah, exactly. And there was another, Billy Williams. No, Ernie Banks. I'm sorry, Ernie Banks. Yeah. So there's 3 Hall of Famers he was responsible for.
Well, I think old Joe could make a good statement for that Hall of Fame also, man. But the thing is, so many guys that didn't make it, that he had good impact on. And one thing that I always think about when I think of Buck and the Hall of Fame, and they talk about, oh, Lee, it took you 20 years to get. It was better late than never, yes. But to hear the thing about what Buck O'Neil did to the game and helped in the game and what he really, just flew that way for us, never heard him say a negative word in one day that I spoke to him in all my life. And, hey, I tell you what, I know Buck's looking down on me when I got inducted, man, so I got to say that was awesome.
Speaking of looking at you, he's still with us. One of your great champions for you being in the Hall of Fame was Mike Shannon. Every year would come up, and he would just talk about what a crime it was. You guys became really good friends.
Oh, God, yeah, man. I used to come over to the restaurant before I went home just about after every game. And actually, I just knew Mike. We used to hang out with him when I was a Cub, man. So I would go over there and hang out with him because the hotel was right there. We'd run around and holler at Mike, and we talked about baseball and hunting, fishing, a little bit of everything. And I really got a really good relationship with him, even before I became a Cardinal. But when I got here, it was even better and closer.
He always talks about the time you came over on a Sunday and asked about the slider you served up to Mike Schmidt. Is it over here somewhere?
Yeah, hey, man, I tell you what, I told him, I said, man, I think Mike going to send a limo for me tomorrow and make sure I ain't late for the game, man. But you know what? We looked at that, we think of it, and we laugh it off. Mm-hmm. That's what I think the young man that we were just talking about is going to have to think, hey, man, this is going to be my job. But sometimes some guys don't know that that's their role. So when he come to the ballpark and know that's his job, I think it's going to be a lot easier for him on down the road.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If he knows that his job isn't in jeopardy, I'm going to get the ball no matter what. Yeah. That's got to be one less thing to worry about.
Oh, God, yeah. You come to the ballpark because I'm going to tell you, man, before I became the closer, we had Bruce Sutter, we had Eckersley, all these guys. So those guys really got that opportunity. They went on to other places. And when I came to the ballpark, because you come in one day and you're pitching in the 4th inning, you don't know how to prepare, mentally or physically. So
well, it would interrupt your nap though at that point.
Yeah, they had to give me that 7th inning, man. That 7th inning stretch was my song. But the weird thing is knowing where you're going to be used. So I knew, hey, Smitty, start throwing a little bit in the 6th inning because from the 7th inning on, and then later on in my career when I came here, I knew maybe maybe a little bit of the 8th, 9th inning, but when you be able to prepare and look at who's going to be hitting, and you could go out there and prepare yourself.
You know, that's a great point you make, because when you broke in a little bit of the 7th, maybe the 8th, and all of the 9th, I mean, there wasn't that 3-out guy. You may be there for 6 or maybe eight batters.
Well, man, that's where you learn how to pitch. You know, because you go out there and you see a guy pitch one inning and he punch out the side. Well, you know, might not even throw your breaking ball. But you go out there in that 7th, 8th inning, you have to face these guys possibly 2 times. Or, you know, but some of the guys that you learn how to pitch by being out there pitching in the game. And I think I always wanted to throw. And some of the guys that get different between pitching and throwing. I think that's the problem.
I think we see too many throwers, and because a lot of these guys are rushed up here, they didn't learn how to pitch, and so they just rear back and cut loose with 98 and think that's going to get them over the hump, and it won't.
I mean, it worked for some guys. You know, some guys I know, they had guys come out, just go out there for an inning and throw it as hard as you can. That might work for some guys, but some guys has to learn how to pitch, because you don't know what that role is going to be, but they're looking to see who can do this and who can't. But day to day, come back the next day, that's when you find out who is the closer or who can handle that job. Is a guy can throw 2 or 3 days in a row, plus not to warm up. Back in the day, we warm up a couple times, not go in the game, man. So
pitch a whole ball game out there.
Hey, I'm telling you, man. So now that's the thing that you have to learn about. But not now. I think the guys know when these guys warm up now, you're in the game. Yeah. Back in the day, I could warm up in the 7th, 8th inning and not play in the game. You know, so that's how you got to learn your body.
You're looking good, man.
Hey,
stay with it, and don't be a stranger to St. Louis.
Thank you. Awesome coming back here. I got to give all that credit to Miss Diana.